But I wanted to tap in with the attorney that defended him. Her name is Meghan Blanco. She's an incredible defense attorney here in Los Angeles. Apparently, she picked up this case in San Diego. And
you familiar with her, or you just did some research?
No, I'm familiar with her.
Okay.
I've worked with her before.
Okay, yeah. I'm not surprised.
And when I saw her name on the Boosie case last year, I think when did he pick up this case? About a year ago?
Yeah, like last summer, wasn't it?
Yeah. About last summer, I saw her name on there, and when we saw the dismissal, I'm like, wow, he got dismissed. Because remember, the state dropped the case, went over to the feds, and once the feds got it, it's pretty much a wrap.
Everybody said the feds won't come until they got you.
But she got the case dismissed, and we're gonna get her on the phone. Can you call Meghan? And we'll just pause while here we go.
Hi, this is Meghan.
Meghan, this is Alex, and I'm on. We're doing the podcast Straight Politicking, and we're talking about the Boosie case that you were defending. How you doing?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. So we had a couple questions about the case. First and foremost, can you give us a background of the case from what we understand? And I'm here with my co-hosts, Munchie B and Spider Loke, and we wanted to know how did he get charged with this case in the first place? Because from what we understand, there was a music video that was being recorded, and apparently there was a gun tucked in the back of his pants, and that kind of got the whole investigation going. Can you give us a background on how he got charged in the first place?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Mr. Hatch was out in San Diego for work. He was asked to make an appearance in a music video. Someone else who was present, I don't know if they were involved in shooting the video, was taking their own video with their phone and uploading it on to social media. Turns out local San Diego law enforcement was monitoring that guy's social media account.
That's crazy.
Crazy, I know.
Wait,
Crazy.
So they were monitoring his social media in real time?
In real time. They had a guy who was sitting behind a desk monitoring his social media account. I don't know how long it had been going on, but he was doing it in real time.
Wow.
So they see what they think is a gun. They see the @ where Mr. Hatch was tagged in the post. They click on the post and realize that he was, a famous rapper. What they do next is they send up a helicopter. They send all of these squad cars to follow him, pull him over in what we call a T-stop, so just a traffic stop, trying to find things or reasons to pull him over. And then the state at that point charges him with being a felon in possession. So fast forward several weeks, he's on bond in the state case, complying, doing everything he's supposed to do. The judge in the state case, after reviewing all of the evidence, decides that the case is worth a probationary sentence. So he tells the parties, hey, listen, next time we come to court, my intention is to allow him to plead to probation. Mr. Hatch is, ecstatic about it. He comes to court thinking he's going to resolve everything. He's going to accept the probationary plea. Before that happens, the DA dismisses. FBI comes in and literally arrests him and takes him into custody.
Okay, was there any conversations between the feds and the San Diego prosecutors about this was going to happen, or were the San Diego prosecutors surprised, or were they in on it?
We asked to review communications between the federal government and the locals who originally handled the case. We didn't actually get access to those communications, but my belief is the locals knew about it. The reason I'm saying that is because they moved to dismiss the case before Mr. Hatch was arrested by the FBI. So at least at some point before Mr. Hatch's arrest, they were given word that the FBI was going to come in and arrest him. It's my belief that they very likely reached out to the federal government to make the arrest because they were unhappy with the judge's bench offer.
So the judge was genuinely going to give him give him this probation, or do you think the judge was just saying that because he knew the feds were coming?
No, I think the judge was going to give him probation. He asked to review the file. It's my understanding from counsel in the case that the DA and defense counsel had meetings with the judge concerning a resolution in the case, and that the judge, I think, made the right call given what the circumstances were. It wasn't like Mr. Hatch was doing anything illegal separately. He was just working. He was, shooting a music video. He wasn't engaged in any sort of illicit or bad activity at the time.
Did they find a gun on the vehicle when they pulled him over?
So when Mr. Hatch was pulled over, there was a gun that was retrieved from the vehicle. That's correct.
And was that was the state at the time alleging that gun in the vehicle was the same one in the music video?
Right. So that was what Mr. Hatch was initially charged with in the state. So the state charges are identical to the federal charges. And in fact, the discovery in the state case is basically identical to the discovery in the federal case. It's the same case. It was just rolled up federally.
Okay. So how were you able to work your magic to get the feds to eventually dismiss the case?
So, when this was all going on, there was movement in the Supreme Court concerning what we call 922G1 cases, those felon and possession cases. And the Supreme Court was reevaluating whether and to what extent the federal government can regulate and prohibit people from owning guns or from possessing guns. Back in 2023, we filed a motion to dismiss based on some early case law on the case. That motion was denied. And then fast forward a few months, and in May, a new case came out in the Ninth Circuit. And that case is U.S. versus Duarte. And in it, the Ninth Circuit said that individuals who have nonviolent drug priors can't be prohibited from owning a gun or from possessing a gun for lawful defense. So once that case came out, we renewed our motion, and the court ultimately granted it.
So basically, you're conceding that he possessed the gun, but it was a legal possession.
So we were attacking the indictment against Mr. Hatch. According to the indictment, as the government alleges, Mr. Hatch was a felon, that his felonies related to nonviolent drug cases, and that he possessed a gun. So we didn't get into the actual facts of the case at all. We attacked the indictment and what the indictment alleged. And what the indictment alleged against Mr. Hatch under current law in the Ninth Circuit is not permissible. The government cannot make those allegations against people like Mr. Hatch, whose only priors are for nonviolent drug felonies.
Okay, well, congratulations on that. I want to know if any of my co-hosts have any questions for you, Meghan, or we'll start with Spider.
Hello, Meghan. Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
I was just curious, when the probation offer was on the table, was that just straight probation, or was it a joint suspension offered along with that?
Straight probation.
Okay, thank you.
And how many months or years was the judge willing to put Boosie on probation?
I don't know what the terms of the probationary sentence were, but in California, it would have had a 2-year max. So at the upper end, it would have been just 2 years of probation. It's possible, and I don't know, that the judge's offer was for something less than that. And that was an offer that you guys were willing to accept? I was not Mr. Hatch's state counsel. I took over with Damian Alamori once the federal indictment was filed, or the federal charges were filed. But it's my understanding from everyone who's involved in that case that Mr. Hatch was intending to accept the government's, the judge's offer.
And the San Diego prosecutor was okay with that too?
That's the fun thing about state courts. A lot different than federal court. If the judge makes a bench offer, the state can object to it. But the judge can still extend the offer, and the judge can accept the offer if the defense accepts it. In this case, the prosecutor was not happy with the judge's offer. The judge made that offer because the prosecution would not make a similar offer to the defense.
Did the feds make an offer at all before you guys got the case dismissed?
No.
Okay.
So the feds were actually trying to give Boosie at least, what is the minimum on a gun case, like 5 years?
There's no mandatory minimum, but the guidelines range is high. So the guidelines range for Mr. Hatch would have been significant, and it would have potentially resulted in a sentence of multiple years in custody.
All right, Munchie, you got a question for Meghan Blanco?
She answered, and y'all covered everything. I was about to ask about was she representing him in the state, but she answered that. You know what I'm saying? So no, that's about it.
Okay, I appreciate you letting us tap in with you, Meghan Blanco. One quick question on an unrelated topic. Not sure if you heard about this, but breaking news in in Atlanta, Judge Glanville, the judge that's overseeing Young Thug's case, got recused and was removed from the trial.
Good.
I saw that, and that is absolutely the right result. But what should also happen is the case should be dismissed, and this trial has got to be granted at this point. You cannot recuse the judge over conduct that related to conduct involving the same prosecutors that are on the case. Okay. So I think we are very close to Young Thug's case resulting in a mistrial.
Now, if they do that, all they got to do is get a new judge and just refile the case again, right?
Well, if they grant a mistrial in the case, given the prosecution's conduct and their involvement in that mistrial motion, I think it would have to go to an entirely new prosecuting agency. So if I were his attorneys, I would move for disqualification of the entire DA's office out there. And then I don't know, we're up against, statute of limitations issues potentially. And then separately, if you get a different DA's office looking at it, they may not come to the same conclusion. I mean, you've done RICO cases just like I have. 9 months to present evidence in a RICO case? That means that they don't have anything. I mean, it doesn't take 9 months to present a government's case in a RICO case.
State RICO.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a different type of RICO, though. It's a Georgia RICO case. Is that it's different rules, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different rules, but it's modeled after the federal RICO statute. So while there are certainly differences between the two, it's not different enough where you would expect the court to require, the prosecution to require that much time to lay their case out. 9 months is exceptionally long for that type of case.
Yeah, and also the jury selection took weeks.
Yeah, months. Right. I think it was 10 months. Right.
The campaign seemed to be fueled by Fannie's personal passion. If they go to another situation where she's not involved, it might not be that much motivation to even try to redo this whole thing.
That's my exact thought. If it goes to a DA who is less passionate about the charge and who is able to look at it through a lens of neutrality, I don't think the charges are going to stick.
Okay, all right. When Boosie was fighting his last case, was that state or fed? When the big thing with the kid that did all the shootings, was that state or fed?
I'm sorry. Which case was it?
Okay, no. I was wondering, was that a fed case that Boosie overcame before this? Because I'm thinking maybe the feds had it out for him. That's why they wanted to pick it up from the state.
Oh, got it. No, his prior convictions were state convictions out of Louisiana. They were all nonviolent, drug-related convictions. That's not to say that the feds haven't been looking at him. I only know what was produced in our case. But, if you're looking at federal interests and taking a case that, a state judge decided was only worth probation, and then you're rolling it up and getting the FBI's involvement, using judicial resources on the federal level for it, it really, frankly, just seems uncalled for. That's not what federal resources should be directed towards. Right. The state is perfectly capable of handling felon in possession cases.
Now, Megan, I was a little surprised that they were monitoring Boosie in real time. How common is this now for local law enforcement to be using social media to try to...
Boosie. They was monitoring somebody else.
I mean, who were they monitoring,
this dude,
Megan?
On live.
They were monitoring, and I don't want to put his name out there, but they were monitoring another individual who has really no connection to Mr. Hatch.
Okay.
That individual did have prior involvement with the feds. He had a prior federal case. My suspicion is the feds, when you have prior involvement with the feds and he is out of custody now, sometimes agents don't like that, and they will stick on a person for a period of time to try to re-up additional charges. That may be what was going on in this case. It is highly unusual for the feds to for state law enforcement to sit behind a computer and actively monitor someone's social media account. We don't see that very often, especially in a case like a felon in possession case, and that's ultimately what the charges that were filed are felon in possession charges. It doesn't require a lot of workup like that. That's just an inordinate amount of resources that was dedicated to a case that shouldn't require a lot of resources at all. And then you look at the response afterwards. I mean, sending up a helicopter, that's very expensive. Yeah. And it's also very unusual for a felon in possession case. Sending, I think 16 officers responded to a traffic stop to pull him over for a felon in possession case. You do not see that with ordinary people. That was a gross misuse of government resources for a case that just did not require it.
Okay. Lastly, I wanted to know, how did your services become known to Little Boosie, where he decided to hire you? I've been dealing with you for years, so you have a big name here in L.A. But how does a guy from Louisiana even know about your services?
One of his state court lawyers, Damon Alamori, who's also on the federal case with me, referred Mr. Hatch to me.
Okay, well, he made a great decision, didn't he?
Oh, Damon is great. He's one of the best lawyers out there, and if you've got a case in LA, definitely go to Damon.
Are there any other high-profile cases you're currently working on?
I've got a couple coming up. I've got that retrial in one of the biggest Mexican Mafia RICO cases in the Central District that's starting October 3rd. Then I've got another RICO case going to trial right now in February, and both of those I plan to walk the clients on.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you tapping in with straight politicking, that is, and we'll definitely be in touch, Meghan. Thank you very much for calling in.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Likewise.
Likewise.